What would you do if today you were told that you only had a few months to live? What if you were in constant pain? What if your day consisted of you being fed by a tube, leading through your abdomen into your stomach, while not being able to control your bowels? What if you knew you were going to die, and by some miracle, somebody could let you die peacefully, on your own terms, instead of dying painfully, after months or even years of suffering? When people hear the words physician-assisted suicide, most people think it is something bad. I know I used to, until I began working as a nurse aide, taking care of several people in the condition I described. I believe after listening today, you will be able to at least understand my point of view on the subject and not be judgmental, as many people who aren't informed on the topic are. So today, for those of you who think physician-assisted suicide is something that should never be legalized in every state across our country, I'm going to explain the circumstances that it should be legal under and the reasons why I believe it should be permitted. Currently, there are 3 U.S. states in which assisted suicide is legal. These states are Oregon, Washington, and Vermont. This legalized practice, however, has not increased the rate of deaths by a significant number. There are many tests that would need to be performed before assisted suicide would be carried out. So many things need to be taken into consideration before a doctor should legally be able to assist in a patient's suicide. The patient would need to be diagnosed with a terminal disease or condition by at least 2 qualified doctors. This doesn't need to be a way out for somebody suffering from depression. Depression can be controlled. Terminal illnesses cannot. Psychological analysis would need to be done on a patient before the assisted suicide should be performed. The doctor would need to make sure the patient was in the right state of mind before continuing with the procedure. There should be a time slot of several weeks between the time a patient applies for the procedure and when it's actually carried out. That way, the patient has plenty of time to make sure that this is what they really want. Now that you know what conditions should be involved, I will explain why I believe it should be legalized. There are several reasons why allowing this procedure would be beneficial. The number one reason is to alleviate pain from those who are suffering. What happens when a pet you love gets sick and is in pain? You put it to sleep because you can't stand to see it hurting. I believe that any person diagnosed with a terminal illness should have the privilege of dying in a peaceful and dignified way. Another reason it should be legalized is because organs can be harvested from people who no longer want to live, and doctors could save the life of somebody who still has a fighting chance. With certain guidelines, doctors can make sure that physician-assisted suicide isn't abused and is only provided to those who meet all standards. If somebody that wants to die can pick when they die, they can save friends and family members a lot of pain. Nobody wants to see a loved one suffering, and it would give them the opportunity to expect the death and say their goodbyes. When stopping the suffering and pain, family members and friends would most likely be happy that their loved ones are no longer suffering. There are many reasons people don't agree with assisted suicide. I think the number one reason is because it's against many people's religious beliefs. I myself am a Christian. One of the commandments is thou shalt not kill. When the 10 Commandments and Bible were written, technology and resources for assisted suicide had not yet been invented. There is no way the issue could have been addressed in those days. There is no way we can know God's opinion on the matter. I believe with all my heart that God would understand that I formed my opinion not out of hatred and cruelty, but out of compassion and my love for people. In the same way, I believe God would understand why some people tell white lies in order to not hurt someone's feelings, even though thou shalt not lie is another commandment in the Bible.
Yes.
Many people believe that legalizing physician-assisted suicide can open the gates to patient suicides of people who aren't in a critical condition and other abuses.
Okay.
There's absolutely no evidence to support this argument. We shouldn't deny the means to a peaceful death for many patients just because of a mere possibility of abuse. Like I previously said, there would be many guidelines and the procedure would be highly regulated, so abuse would not be possible. Some people say that miracle cures and recoveries can occur. I believe that miracles can occur. But in the time I have worked in a hospital, I have never witnessed a miracle. What I have witnessed is a very large number of patients dying in a painful way. Miracles aren't common. They are very rare. Terminal illnesses are diagnosed every day. The practice of physician-assisted suicide is becoming more popular every day. According to a University of Michigan study, 56% of doctors approve of legalizing the procedure. 66% of citizens surveyed approved. Only 1/5 of the doctors said they support a ban on assisted suicide. Many people believe that if you end somebody's life, you are playing God. I believe that many people are against the idea of physician-assisted suicide because of this reason. As Jack Kevorkian once said, anytime you interfere with a natural process, you are playing God. God determines what happens naturally. That means when a person is ill, he shouldn't go to a doctor because he's asking for interference with God's will. I believe Dr. Kevorkian had the right idea. Keeping somebody alive is not natural. If it weren't for medication, people would not be living as long as they do these days. They would be dying naturally at a much younger age. Yet you do not hear any argument of a doctor's prolonging the life of somebody that would otherwise be dead. Doctors and nurses do what they can while you're alive to make you happy and comfortable and healthy. It's a wonderful thing that we have the resources to do so. But what about when there's no way to save your life? Shouldn't they be able to make you happy and comfortable in your death? Anyone suffering from a terminal illness or condition should be able to pick his or her own fate. As Americans, I don't see how we can look at someone who is slowly and painfully dying and not think it's okay to give them peace in death as they are begging for it, when we have the sources to do so. You're lying in a hospital bed. You just wet your bed, and you'll be lying in your own urine or feces until the next nurse comes around. Your daily life, including something as simple as getting up to look outside your window, has been diminished to being stuck in the same hospital bed, in the same room, day after day, waiting to die. You're a prisoner of your own body, and there's nothing you can do about it. Wouldn't you want a choice?